Have you ever thought about what you don't want when setting goals? So when goal setting, we are usually reflecting and focused on what we want to accomplish, whether it's the next few months or years. But here's a thought exercise. What if we thought about what we really don't want our life to look like? What is the opposite version of what we want? In this video, I'm going to share what anti-goals are and talk about how they can be as powerful as setting standard goals. What are anti-goals? They are if you anticipate a situation or a complete failure, then you can plan accordingly so that you avoid the disaster or you don't end up on a path that you really don't want. So rather than just having goals to strive towards, we also have the anti-goal of, okay, I'm going towards this, and this is also something that I really don't want. I'm Cathryn Lavery, founder and CEO of BestSelf Co., where we create the tools to help you think bigger, achieve more, and develop a meaningful life. Now, let's get into this thought exercise of what do we want to avoid before we say, what do we want? This allows us to develop sort of the first steps of personal growth as we develop, and also helps us make sure that we're not on a path that we don't want. So how do we develop anti-goals? First is values. So what standards, behaviors do you not want to embody? Habits. What actions do you want to make sure that you consciously avoid? Your physical health. What do you not want to be? Emotional, how do you not want to show up? Like, what state of mind is the opposite of what it is that you want to be? And then relationships, like, what's the opposite version of the person that shows up for your friends, for your romantic partner? Like, what do they look like? Once you figure out this, you need to sit and reflect on who this person is. Like, maybe you even know someone that does this and you want to avoid doing that for the next, 1 to 5, 15 years. One example I talk about often is when we set big goals, oftentimes we're not the person that's going to achieve those goals. And what I mean by that is you have to understand, like, who do I have to be to hit this goal? What habits do I need? What values do I need? Like, if I'm trying to grow my business to say like 10 million, what do I need to do every day? Who do I show up as in order for that goal to be true? And then what's the opposite of that person? So if this is my goal and I know how to show up, what's the opposite version? When we know the anti-goal in terms of values, relationships, and habits, we will better understand when we accidentally slip into those behaviors. Here's a personal example for me. At the end of last year, I'm looking at my screen time and realizing I'm spending way too much time on the news, doom scrolling through Instagram or Twitter, and I realized that is not the habits and the values of someone that has the same goals as I do. And so what did I do? I removed that app from my phone because I did this anti-goal exercise. I know, like, scrolling on your phone, like reading the news, like watching TV, like not working out, drinking too often, all of these things are not aligned with the person that I need to become to hit my goal. And so by becoming aware of, like, these are the bad habits of the opposite person of me, like if we're living in two different worlds, this is the good version and this is the bad version. But by becoming aware of the behaviors of this person, I know, like, oh, I better stop doing this or I'm not going to hit these goals. Okay, so I just did this for myself. So how do you come up with your anti-goal list, your not doing list, so that you can be the person that you actually want to become? When coming up with your list, we often think of, like, positive questions, like how can you make your days consistently more enjoyable? I say the anti-version of this is thinking, what would make your day terrible? What would make your day so bad that you wake up, you press a snooze alarm? Like, what would you be filling your day with that would make it horrible? Now, sometimes the negative response can ignite more passion in your motivation to not show up that way. So really, like, consider what that would look like so that you know when you're in that day, oh, wait a minute, this is the anti-day that I didn't want. Maybe it would consist of a full calendar full of long meetings, no time for exercise, you're not eating healthy, you're not able to see any of your friends. Develop that list of what that would look like, what values, what habits, what your relationships look like. And then once you have that list, all you have to do is not do those things. but don't let it consume you. Like, you don't want to have an anti-goal list and that's it. You want to make sure you have your regular habits and your goals, but have a list of what you don't want to do so that you're aware of, maybe you have a day that you slip, you start doing things that are in that list so that you're like, oh, I'm aware of that, let me move over to this. It's about holding yourself accountable, bringing awareness to the way you don't want to show up so that when you slip up, which we all do at all times, you will understand it and change. Tim Ferriss talks about this idea of defining your fears instead of your goals as his way of understanding like what he actually wants. And he shares this recipe for avoiding self-destruction. He talks about this premeditatio malorum, which I'm probably butchering, but it means the premeditation of evils. So in simple terms, he says that imagining your worst case scenario, like what is the worst thing that could happen, and then you think of the things that would prevent them from actually taking place so that you are taking action to overcome the fear that you feel around it. So what he refers to as fear setting instead of goal setting is this similar concept of setting anti-goals, because it's sort of a thought exercise that is opposite to most sort of standardized thinking. Setting anti-goals, it might be the perfect formula to ignite that passion and drive to not live a life that doesn't feel authentic to you, and so that you can actually hit your goals quicker by creating that awareness of what you don't want. What is one anti-goal that you have set for yourself? I would love to see in the comments below.